of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is on the first DVD of his collective works, and I am returning again to say something about it because Google, for some reason, has deleted another video. But here goes. The natural orders are of both survival and of service to God. Trying to separate is to be devoted to illusion. The pilgrimages to sacred lands and places are essential, but the teaching should be available everywhere. People become devotees by the mercy of God. The preachers must use a platform of kindness and following scriptures. Creation is how we know God, but it is not God. Well, since Krishna means light, let's not think that we should follow a false light, that we should accept as holy and true anything that we're told is holy and true. We are in debt to that which is worshipped. Even that which is less than a god. I'm certainly not going to worship things that don't deserve to be worshipped. The chiefs of political efforts should not be, they should not arbitrarily separate their lives from what they order. Real position is not by birth, but by actions. God will let us make the choices we want towards or away from Him. A moment liberated. A life conditions further salvation. A moment can liberate, but, life, you should do more if you have more life to live. Death is the ultimate realization, but we need to develop constant spiritual attachment and awareness. Quite a few ones here. Spiritual knowledge is without arrogance. And through the right authorities. Marriage is by agreement and ritual, arrangement, sacrifice, bride price, conditional, dowry, selected or mutual, forced, and the attacking of the sleeping or intoxicated person. No, this isn't a ritual, but I'll include something ritualistic in this. So those are the 8 types of marriage. And actually, people complain about this idea of, oh, they're not allowing forced marriages. And they're really not allowing the thing where you attack sleeping, where you mount sleeping people, which is kind of, there's a lot of things as one goes on. But, okay, societal and personal are forgiven. Oh, societal and personal, I can't read that, are given answers by seeking God consciousness. Worship God's essence and qualities, Life is more than physical components and goes past death. Well, that's central to any spiritual movement, I would think. We should not wait past our current stage of life to attain full God consciousness, nor should we delay helping, when we can, helping others when they have opportunity in their current life stage for advancement. Those of advanced consciousness will not fault divine scripture. And again, I say in any way. Again, I say that divine scripture is not just anything that some guy in a funny outfit is going to say is divine scripture. Even the right actions devoid of right consciousness have lost their merit. Okay. This should be obvious. That's it's like you can enjoy yourself all you want, but if you devote it to the unseen, well, maybe you've seen some of the unseen, but it could be completely towards whatever you think the wrong consciousness is, and obviously that makes sense. Anyways, that of each leaves people to obtain such a thing that is what one may achieve in many, I don't believe in reincarnations, but many birth statuses, at least in the hereafter, whatever. Religion has no human founder, but was endowed by God. Of course, that word religion being in terms of regulation, let's not pigeonhole that and say that people that worship something other than God, that worship Satan or whatever, that they're not regulated by their spiritual relationship either. But in this way of thinking, it's saying that religion is supposed to be God's law. God is not the God of any particular people or cult, because that would be a demiurge. Devotion is not mere trade, but it is in duty. There's nothing wrong with sense gratification or intellectual pursuits if they are devoted to God and directed in His way. I'm responding to the Krishna consciousness thing here, by the way. One may prefer other content. God's grace is for all, but devotees are favored with mercy. Devotion will okay, it's willing or accepting things. I will mention Jesus in the 888 thing, but not in terms of thinking that he is somebody to worship. I'm saying that some of the symbolism of 888 ties to Jesus. And no, Osiris and Ra, or Yasuri, is the ancient Egyptian for Osiris. But Ra can kind of tie to the whole Krishna thing. Become a master instead of servant of the senses. Many things are a sign till regulated by God consciousness. Purification is by remembering God. In any moment, God is beyond names, but of the best of names. Okay, that makes, why would one worship what you think is the worst or what completely repels you? But you can, anyways. There's more than 4 Vedas, 16 Puranas, 108 Upanishads, thousands of scriptures, Shastras, sent to India alone. So anybody tells you, yes, there's only this number, they're completely lying. In the Islamic tradition, there's this idea of 40 Hadith Qudsi, which is historians narrate a chain that ties back to Muhammad, who said that God said something, but some people try to pretend there's only 40. I don't know why. Only 99 names of Allah. That's not true. There's more than that in the Quran alone. There's like 319. Ravana would be closer to Tiamat, I would think. Do not just confess, but try to authentically reform lives, bringing in more good. Become a master instead of servant in the sentences. Okay. Yes, we can enjoy our lives. Rama is the pleasure principle. But if you're thinking of some dude with red pants, when you say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rami Rama, Hare Hara. Oh, I mispronounced you. You'll hear it later. God provides for everyone's needs, but people choose to selfishly deprive others by taking or controlling their share. We should try to become accepted and attentive to a spiritual master. Again, not just anybody who wants to lead us. I talk about the whole Ekankar people and talk about a wannabe demiurge. I mean, okay, God being known in creation doesn't reduce his divinity. Diet matters little compared with God consciousness. Economic problems seem to be a lack of focus on producing plants. I am not saying that people have to be vegetarian or anything, but I have, there's in South Carolina, not South Carolina, where am I thinking? California, they have figured out that certain animal raising rules, if they were implied in California, you could feed 20 billion people. Practically every, the more green states, every one of them could feed the whole nation. But we really like that meat. And if dairy hurts us, we're going to eat dairy anyways. There's medication for that. No, don't do that. If worship is limited to pleas for material things, then secularists might provide them to stop religiosity. Then maximize your personal production. If you're focusing on yourself, because you do have to focus on yourself first. It's not that you sacrifice everything and, there's at least a balance to those who would give something. Even birth into secular lands and families can be considered higher birth. Civilization is by a choice. I do not accept any of these gurus. In a way, I don't have any living master. I take and choose some of a little bit of each. But not in terms of I just randomly pick from things. That is, there's no particular portion of scripture alone that a commentary on would prove that a movement is fundamentalist. I have encountered plenty of church folk or churches in which that they say that there is, they claim to be fundamentalist, but they don't follow. There's plenty in the Bible that doesn't contradict other parts of the Bible that they don't follow. And they do other things instead and have their own holidays. Do not offend the devotees. Yes, man is a physical being, and I've mentioned before about the 3 stages of the soul, and one of the stages of the soul is the animal soul. Illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and unlawful sex are the 4 pillars of sinful life. Most Hindu paths, you'll see that 4 commandment sort of thing going on. The material universe is as a mustard seed in a bag. The spiritual worlds are like 3 such bags. Status is more important than something, it's more by something other than castes, sects, and national categories. Oh, devotion is for status. Okay, I said that. The stages of life are as signs that life goes on past the body. God is known by wealth, health, pleasure, and beauty. Any particular distinctive duty can be the means to liberation. And there is a dark Krishna consciousness path that is not quite so fluffy that some people would refer to. I haven't looked into it much, but there's some things. There's some things in each path that are people are kind of hold back on, at least saying or getting involved with. There are those that abuse marriage, those educated in spirituality, those who misuse life, and those who are base sinners. Okay, those are considered the worst type of people according to the Krishna consciousness movement. Centers of devotion and learning are to be visited as well as, the regular pilgrimage sites. Neither life nor consciousness is matter. The devotion defeats fear. Nothing maintains and grows without God's permission. Even a flower can punish a demon, which is an interesting idea, that you can... Creation, maintaining, and dissolution all imply a source. Oh, and speaking of demons, I plan to do another around 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to do another one for my Like the Goetia series. Learn to know the whole by the half. The material existence is a temporary shadow, which dispels its illusion upon God consciousness. Obviously, whatever you would call that. God may blacken or break what stands in our way of surrender. Our originality, our original position is in divine purity. Material comfort brings no happiness in itself. Material comfort brings no happiness in itself. I live in a country where some of the most unhappy people are wealthy people. Just look at all the tabloids and whatnot, or what comes out from various celebrities. But this idea that the position we were to start with is somewhat inferior, that's definitely a mistake. Separation between the body and mind, that which is imposed by others, and hardship are the sources of suffering, alleviated by knowledge and devotion. So, slavery to God is inevitable, but with God consciousness, it is better. There's got to be a more pleasing way to phrase that, because that has some connotations for a lot of people. A devotee has their status because they connect to God's status. People of all ranks should approach an authentic spiritual teacher. Body and mind cause misery even before birth. A lot of truth to that. Even entities from other worlds can cause misery. There are external disasters that cause misery. Never live as if you are just a body. Women have the right to protection in staying home. Doesn't mean they can't leave the home for their needs, but men and women should have certain rights that are different. To love is natural, but misplaced love is a disease. Scriptures can be a hard place to find spiritual knowledge if study is without devotion. The body becomes different by devotion. Let your spark of it fall where it spreads. The secularization has made even basic spiritual information seem confidential. Each can choose a system. Matter is thought of as mother, and spirit is thought of as father. Of course, I don't believe in some sky father out there. Don't misplace your love and control. Again, this thing about just, people think they leave one church or one path and they just accept everything. That's kind of... Do not have blind faith alone, nor cease from understanding. Mere personal interpretation is misleading. To not accept a text as is to deny its authority. The wisdom provokes surrender to God. Devotion bestows what many births cannot. All philosophies can lend support and even origin in the sacred scriptures. Now, the other year, I should have made copies, but I didn't. I explained to somebody through 60 different philosophers my spiritual positions or why I'm on the path that I am on. I'll likely return to such things in a future time. Initiation is not a time to stop and achieve no further than liberation. Refer to the primary over the secondary. Pleasure is how power is known. Do not be separate from either. From using either? Okay. Creation never becomes a god or goddess. We are what we are, which is fine. Spiritual and even psychic transmission has more ability than material broadcasts. The creation and the intellect are essential to perception. To perfecting of yourself. And I guess that is it. So, Hari is the omni sort of character. Any of those all things. Omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Krishna is the attractiveness, the light. Rama is the sound, the pleasure principle. So, without picturing some 15-year-old with his shirt off, running around in yellow pants, and some other guy, and I forget whether he was older or younger, in red pants, which is really weird, by the way. But if you want to, whatever, it's your path. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I'm certainly not going to say that 108 times 16 times. which I think the International Society of Krishna Consciousness did this because they sold that many different types of beads at the time. But any further questions before I sign out of this one for the next couple hours until I do my, like, the Goetia show? I may have missed something that was put on the screen earlier. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, in English, my spiritual path can be translated by the term surrender. My channel description will say that further. It can also be translated by the words expression of peace, expression of wholeness. My path is a path that has 3 colored flags traditionally: green, black, and white. And white does not mean surrender to humans. White is a flag that represents rulership. So personal mastery and hopefully societal mastery is my path, but not in terms of totalitarianism, where people do not have the freedom to believe or disbelieve whatever they want, because that is what I'm advocating, much more than how modern society runs. Krishna in terms of the black, I am definitely on a path that does not judge the darkness in moral terms. Positive and negative don't necessarily operate in that way, but perhaps I'll be smoother with the next one of this series. I don't remember what the next one of the series. I think festivals is the next one on this series.